What if Earth suddenly stopped spinning? Not tomorrow, not next year, right now, at this very second. Everything around you would seem normal for less than 1 second. Then, the impossible begins. The ground beneath your feet would become a deadly weapon. Buildings would collapse. Cars would be thrown through the air. The oceans would rise into gigantic walls of water, racing across entire continents. Winds faster than the speed of sound would rip cities apart. Day and night would never be the same again. Billions of lives could disappear within hours. But here's the most terrifying part. Earth itself wouldn't explode. It would simply become a completely different world. So, what would actually happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning? Let's find out. One moment. Life feels completely normal. People are driving to work. Children are laughing. Airplanes are crossing the sky. And the Earth is spinning at nearly 1,670 kilometers per hour at the equator. But then, without any warning, it stops. Not slowly, not over hours, instantly. The planet freezes, but everything on its surface doesn't. Because of inertia, every person, every building, every car, every airplane keeps moving east at the same incredible speed. Imagine standing on the ground and suddenly being thrown through the air faster than a jet. Cities become oceans of flying debris. Skyscrapers collapse. Bridges snap apart. Within seconds, the world becomes unrecognizable. And this is only the very beginning, because the oceans haven't even started moving yet. The ground has already turned into a nightmare, but something even more terrifying is about to happen. The oceans never stopped moving. Just like everything else, billions of tons of water continue racing east at incredible speed. Within minutes, the seas begin to climb out of their shores, not as ordinary waves, but as mountains of water, thousands of meters high. Entire coastlines disappear. Massive tsunamis crash into cities, destroying everything in their path. Ships are thrown deep into the land. Skyscrapers vanish beneath the flood. Islands simply disappear. The sound is beyond imagination. A roar so powerful, it can be heard for hundreds of kilometers. And while the oceans are swallowing continents, the sky is preparing its own attack. Because the atmosphere is still moving. The oceans aren't the only thing still moving. The atmosphere is racing with the same momentum. While the Earth has stopped, the air hasn't. Within seconds, the entire planet is hit by winds faster than the speed of sound. More than 1,200 kilometers per hour. The sky becomes a weapon. Steel bends. Windows explode. Trees are ripped from the ground like blades of grass. Airplanes lose all control as the violent winds tear them apart. Dust, sand, and pieces of entire cities fill the atmosphere. Breathing becomes almost impossible. Day turns into darkness as giant clouds of debris block the sun. Every step outside could be your last. But after the winds finally begin to slow, humanity realizes the worst is still ahead. Because Earth has lost something it has had for billions of years. The endless cycle of day and night. The winds eventually begin to fade. The oceans settle into a new shape. But Earth will never be the same again, because the planet is no longer spinning. One side faces the sun forever. The other is trapped in endless darkness. On the daylight side, the sun never sets. Hour after hour, the heat keeps rising. Rivers begin to dry up. Forests burst into flames. Cities become giant ovens. Temperatures climb far beyond what humans can survive. Meanwhile, on the dark side, the opposite happens. The temperature keeps falling, lower and lower, until the oceans begin to freeze. Snow buries entire cities. Ice spreads across continents. A world once filled with life is now split between fire and ice. But there is one narrow place where survival might still be possible, a thin strip between eternal day and endless night. The blazing daylight side is too hot to survive. The frozen night side is too cold to support life. But between them, there's a narrow line, a place where the sun forever hangs on the horizon. Scientists call it the twilight zone. Here, the temperatures could remain just barely survivable. It becomes humanity's last hope. Millions of survivors begin the greatest migration in history. Families leave everything behind. Cities are abandoned. Highways become endless rivers of people. Food becomes more valuable than gold. Clean water almost disappears. Governments collapse. Borders no longer matter. The only goal is to reach the twilight zone before it's too late. But even there, a new enemy is waiting, one that no human can escape. The planet's climate is about to change forever. Reaching the twilight zone doesn't save humanity. It only buys more time. Without Earth's rotation, the planet's climate completely collapses. Scorching air from the endless daylight side rushes toward the frozen darkness. At the same time, freezing air surges back in the opposite direction. The result? Never-ending superstorms. Storms so powerful, they never stop. Lightning flashes, day after day. Hurricanes grow larger than entire countries. Rain falls for months without ending. Then suddenly, nothing. Only dust and silence. Farms can no longer grow food. Animals begin to disappear. The global food chain starts to collapse. Humanity is no longer fighting to rebuild civilization. It's fighting to survive one more day. But an even bigger problem is hiding deep beneath our feet. Because Earth's core is still changing. Deep beneath the surface, Earth's molten core never truly rests. It is the engine that helps create our magnetic field, an invisible shield protecting every living thing from deadly radiation in space. But after the planet suddenly stops spinning, that shield could begin to weaken. At first, no one notices. The sky still looks familiar. The sun still rises over only one side of Earth. Then, powerful solar radiation starts reaching the surface. Satellites fail. Communication networks collapse. GPS disappears. Astronauts in orbit face lethal levels of radiation. Bright auroras spread far beyond the poles, lighting up skies across the world. Beautiful, yet terrifying. Without Earth's magnetic protection, life becomes even harder to sustain. And as the days pass, scientists discover one final truth. The Earth will never return to the world we once knew. The old world is gone. The greatest cities on Earth are now ruins. The internet has gone silent. Power grids have failed. Air travel no longer exists. The few survivors gather inside the twilight zone, not to rebuild the past, but to create a new future. Every seed, every drop of clean water, every working machine becomes priceless. Scientists search for ways to grow food under an endless sunset. Engineers build underground shelters protected from violent storms and deadly radiation. Children grow up without ever knowing a normal sunrise or a peaceful night sky. For them, this broken Earth is the only Earth they've ever known. Humanity may survive, but civilization will never look the same again. And then, one final question remains. Could this disaster ever happen in real life? After everything you've seen, one question remains. Could this really happen? The answer is both comforting and terrifying. No known natural event could make Earth stop spinning instantly. Not an asteroid, not an earthquake, not even the most powerful volcano. The amount of energy required is almost beyond imagination. If something powerful enough could actually stop Earth's rotation, the destruction itself would be even more catastrophic than the effects we've already witnessed. So, this scenario is extremely unlikely, but it teaches us something incredible. Life on Earth depends on a delicate balance, a balance we've had for more than 4.5 billion years. Every sunrise, every sunset, every season, every breath you take exists because our planet never stops turning. And that's what makes Earth one of the most extraordinary worlds in the universe. Now imagine, we had one final warning, 24 hours before Earth stopped spinning. Would humanity survive? Across the world, emergency alerts would appear on every screen. Governments would declare a global state of emergency. Airplanes would be ordered to land immediately. Millions would rush to buy food, water, and fuel. Highways would become endless parking lots. Scientists would work around the clock, searching for any possible solution. But deep inside, they would already know the truth. There is no machine, no technology, and no shelter capable of protecting billions of people from a disaster on this scale. The countdown reaches 10 seconds, 9, 8. The entire world holds its breath. Then, silence. The planet stops, and in a single moment, everything humanity ever built becomes history. Years have passed. The world you once knew exists only in memories. Cities lie buried beneath ice or scorched by endless sunlight. The oceans have found new shores. The skies still rage with relentless storms. Yet somehow, humanity endures. Small communities live deep underground or within the narrow twilight zone. Every meal is carefully rationed. Every child is taught skills instead of luxuries. Books become more valuable than gold, not because they tell stories, but because they preserve knowledge. The dream is no longer to conquer the world. It's simply to keep the human race alive. And every night, the survivors look toward the horizon, where light meets darkness, wondering if Earth will ever feel like home again. But before we end, there's one final truth that changes everything. After everything we've witnessed, the collapsing cities, the endless storms, the frozen darkness, the burning daylight, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Earth doesn't just spin, it keeps life alive. Every sunrise, every sunset, every ocean current, every season, every breath depends on the silent motion of our planet. Without it, the world we call home would become almost unrecognizable. The good news? This nightmare is only a scientific thought experiment. There is no evidence that Earth could suddenly stop spinning like this in the real world, but it reminds us just how extraordinary and fragile our planet truly is. So the next time you watch the sun rise or disappear below the horizon, remember, you're witnessing a cosmic miracle that has been happening for billions of years. Because as long as Earth keeps turning, life has a chance to keep going. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe.